You know, there's a metal that has quietly and sometimes brutally shaped all of human history. It doesn't build our cities, it doesn't forge our tools, but it has absolutely fueled our empires, funded our armies, and yeah, decided the fate of countless wars. Today, we are diving deep into the story of gold, the true and often secret king of war. And that idea right there just hits the nail on the head. I mean, think about it. Gold can't fire a single shot, but its influence, its raw, incredible power to command resources, to motivate armies, to destabilize entire nations, has proven more decisive than almost any weapon ever invented. All right, let's jump into the first chapter of this story. For most of history, the link between gold and war was, well, it was brutally simple. Wars were fought to literally get your hands on gold, and then that gold was used to fund even more war. A simple, vicious cycle. And look, this is nothing new. This playbook is ancient. You have the pharaohs, who called gold the skin of the gods, using it to fund their massive armies. The Persians got clever. They weaponized gold coins to sow chaos among their rivals. But it was really the Romans who perfected the system. Use gold to pay your legions, and then use those legions to conquer new lands to get, you guessed it, more gold. Now, this obsession with gold didn't just stop in the ancient world. Oh no. When European powers started sailing across the globe, it wasn't just for the thrill of discovery. It was basically a state-sponsored mission to find new wealth, specifically gold, to pay for the constant, incredibly expensive wars they were all fighting back home in Europe. And the sheer scale of this was just mind-boggling. We're not talking about a few treasure chests here. In the Americas, entire empires were brought to their knees for their gold. The ransom for a single Incan emperor, just one guy, was about 6 tons of it. All that wealth was shipped back to Spain, melted down, and minted into coins to pay for armies fighting all over Europe. So, this is where things start to change. A big shift happens. Gold evolves. It's no longer just a physical prize you can plunder from a temple. It becomes the invisible foundation of the entire global financial system, a system that would finance war on an industrial scale we'd never seen before. And the key to this whole new system? The gold standard. So what was it? Well, think of it like this. A country could promise that every dollar or pound it printed was backed by a real physical amount of gold sitting in a vault somewhere. This made its money universally trusted, and it made gold the ultimate measure of a country's economic power, and, more importantly, its ability to actually pay for and win a war. World War I shows this system in brutal, terrifying action. It wasn't just a fight in the trenches, it was a fight on the balance sheets. The Allied powers could borrow against America's massive gold reserves to keep buying guns and supplies. The Central Powers, on the other hand, were blockaded, cut off. They could only watch as their gold reserves dried up until their economies just collapsed. The war was won, in a very real way, by the side that had better access to gold. But the physical plunder, it didn't stop. Not by a long shot. It just got more organized. Take a look at this number. Over 6,000 tons? That number represents one of the largest, most systematic heists in human history. During World War II, both Nazi Germany and Imperial Japan ran these incredibly sophisticated operations to just plunder the gold of every nation they conquered. This stolen wealth, under secret plans like Japan's Golden Lily, was used to buy oil, fund their war machines, and even plan for their post-war recovery. After the war, the world had to rebuild its financial order, and they put gold right at the very center of it. With the Bretton Woods system, the US dollar was pegged to gold, and every other major currency was then pegged to the dollar. Now, since America held nearly 2/3 of all the world's official gold, well, you see where this is going. It effectively gave the US the keys to the entire global economy. But a system like that couldn't last forever. The costs of the Vietnam War were piling up, America's gold supply was shrinking, and then, in 1971, President Nixon did something that sent shockwaves across the planet. He completely severed the link between the dollar and gold. Just like that, the gold window was slammed shut, and the entire era of gold-backed money came to a crashing halt. Okay, we're about to jump into the modern world of financial warfare, which is a whole other ballgame, so this is probably the perfect time to mention that if you're getting something out of this explainer, a quick like, share, and subscribe would be awesome. It really helps us keep these coming, and you won't miss what's next. And that brings us to today. We live in a world where money is basically an IOU backed by, well, just trust. And in this world, gold has found a totally new job, not as the foundation of the system, but as a strategic weapon to be used against it. Now consider this really fascinating and frankly controversial case. Libya's Muammar Gaddafi had this radical plan. He wanted to create a pan-African currency, the gold dinar, backed by the continent's own huge gold reserves. This would have let African nations trade their oil and other resources with each other, completely bypassing the US dollar system. And this, of course, leads to a huge and very provocative question that people still debate fiercely. Was Gaddafi's plan seen as such a direct threat to the financial world order that it became a major reason for the military intervention that ultimately brought down his government? For a more recent example, just look at what Russia did. After sanctions hit them in 2014, they went on an absolute gold buying spree, more than doubling their holdings in just 8 years. Now, this wasn't just a simple investment. It was a calculated, strategic move to sanction-proof their entire economy. And the genius of that strategy became crystal clear in 2022. When the bigger sanctions hit, Russia's foreign currency reserves held in Western banks were frozen, gone, with the click of a mouse. But its physical gold, held in vaults inside its own borders, was completely untouchable. It became a strategic shield, an asset that couldn't be deleted, allowing the country to absorb that initial financial shock. So, what does all this mean for the future? You'd think, right? In our high-tech world of digital currencies and cyber attacks, what's the point of a shiny yellow metal? Well, it turns out the exact opposite might be true. And Russia is not alone in this, not even close. In the last few years, central banks all over the world, especially in places like China, India, and Turkey, have been buying gold at a record-breaking pace. This isn't just one or two countries, it's a global trend. Nations are deliberately moving away from holding just dollars and stocking up on a physical asset they can physically control. This sets gold up to be a major player on 3 future battlefields. In currency wars, it can act as the anchor for new trading blocks that want to operate outside the dollar. In financial wars, it's the ultimate undeletable asset when sanctions come flying. And in a real hot war, it becomes the payment of last resort for a country's very survival when it's cut off from everything else. Which really brings us full circle, doesn't it? It's a somber thought, but it's a powerful one. For thousands of years, through all our changing technology and shifting empires, 2 forces, human conflict and the pull of gold, have remained fundamentally almost terrifyingly linked. And that leaves us with one last big question. As we move deeper and deeper into a digital world, a world where assets can be created and erased in an instant, will this ancient, physical, unhackable metal, the original king of war, not only keep its power, but maybe become more important than ever before?